If you want to think like a master and play chess like a master, then you clicked on the right video. Because today, I'm going to be playing a game of chess and I'm going to explain every single move that I'm making so that you can follow on to my thought process, understand how it is that I'm coming up with my moves and the reason for me making them, which will hopefully make you play better moves in your games too. Now, I am rated 2100 in over-the-board FIDE chess tournaments, which I'm very excited about because I just reached 2100 this month. And I am rated 2200 on chess.com. So I will be playing a 10-minute game against someone else that is probably around 2200 rated. And I will be explaining every single move. Now, before we do that, one of the things that is also really important when it comes to improving at chess, especially if you want to get really good at it, is psychology. The number one thing that a lot of people tell me when I'm competing is that I sound scared and that I don't trust myself enough when I'm playing classical tournaments. The truth is that psychology is a big part of chess. And that is why at many international events, many teams actually hire psychologists that help with the self-esteem of the team during competition. However, taking care of your mental health is not something that is only important for chess players. It's something that is extremely important for everyone. That is why I'm thrilled to announce that this video is in paid partnership with BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online platform that makes finding a therapist extremely easy. No matter if you suffer from a clinical mental health issue, such as depression or anxiety, or if you're facing challenges in your life that you want help to deal with, going to therapy and talking to someone is something that I truly think most people would benefit from. One of the things that I think is difficult for most people is getting out of the house and talking to someone face to face. However, with BetterHelp, you're able to get a credentialed therapist that is trained to listen and give you helpful and unbiased advice from the comfort of your own home. By quickly filling in a simple questionnaire, BetterHelp will help assess your specific situation and match you with a trained therapist, in most cases, within 48 hours or less. And if you're not happy with the therapist you get, you can easily switch to a new therapist for free. If you think you might benefit from therapy, consider BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Anna Cramling. Clicking that link helps support the channel, and it also gives you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect to a therapist and see if it helps you. Now, let's play some chess. So let's see who I face. Also, I feel like my rating is right now perfect because I'm exactly 2200 in rapid. So I'm gonna play 1d4, which is what I typically play. Obviously, you can choose any opening move. It's going c5. I'm not going to capture here because then there is check and I lose my most important central pawn. So instead, I'm just going to push one step. Now, by having my pawn here, I'm getting a little bit of center and space advantage. So he's going e6. I do not want to trade because then I'm going to be giving up my center. So instead, I'm going to push my c pawn and I'm going to make sure that whenever he captures my pawn, I get to keep a pawn in the center. Going to develop my knight as the next most important thing is to develop your pieces. And now, knight f6. I can choose to go here. Or I can go e4. And I actually think I'm going to go e4 just to gain a little bit more of space advantage. This move also allows for my bishop to develop and keeps this pawn a little bit more protected. However, if he captures, I'm going to be capturing with the c pawn because I want to keep as many pawns in the center as possible. And with center, I mean these 4 squares. Squares. I feel like I said squares in a weird way. So a6, he's trying to go b5 and gain some space advantage on the queen side. I am obviously going to stop that by pushing my a pawn 2 steps and just trying to prevent this. The problem with this move, though, is that I do give up this square. That is, I suppose, the only issue. So g6 is being played, and there's a few different things that I could do. This is now turning into a Benoni, and I actually think that I could go knight f3. I could go for this move and just develop and castle, but I like to play this line, which where the idea becomes at some point to try to go e5 and you know, push a little bit even more in the center. So this is slightly more aggressive. I'm not sure if I would play this in classical, but definitely in a rapid game I would. This is what I typically play, and I might even play it in classical. It's just that it weakens my king a little bit more. Now it's time to develop my pieces, so I'm gonna start by getting my knight out, as I know that the knight is gonna go here. My knight is getting pinned. I'm gonna prevent the pin. I don't wanna move my queen because then he's gonna capture my knight, and when I capture back, I'll have to capture with the pawn and get my pawns doubled, which is something that I really don't want. So I wanna be able to recapture with the bishop, and now I am free to move my queen if I want to, but the next move is going to be castles for sure. I think my opponent is also going to castle. That looks like the most natural thing to do here. So he's capturing, which is a little bit, it makes sense because this bishop is typically the really bad bishop. And I suppose that my opponent wanted to go knight d7, and then after h3, the bishop would have to capture anyways because otherwise it's trapped. So I do understand it. After castles, I'm going to castle. I have the bishop pair right now, which is something that I'm very happy about. And I am, at this moment in time, I believe threatening to go e5. I didn't want to do it before I castled because I don't want to start pushing too many central pawns when my king is still in the center, as my king would be very weak then. So knight d7, my opponent's preventing this move, but I'm gonna go rook e1 and try to go for it anyways. So I believe now my opponent will go rook e8 to prevent this move, as if I am able to make this move, I think that I'm gonna be so much better because after e5, I can also go e6. So I believe that we will see rook e8. No, instead knight e8, and now my opponent is also preventing this, but it feels a little bit strange. I think that I'm going to start by just simply getting my bishop out, and I'm going to wait and see what my opponent does. I don't know if the idea is that they want to go f5, but I think that this move would be quite weakening as well. So I don't think that move is good either. So I'm kind of confused on what my opponent is trying to do. So now we have an important moment because I am immediately seeing that after the knight goes here to c7, after I push my pawn, my e-pawn, and my opponent captures, I can go d6 with a tempo because I'm threatening this knight. The knight would have to move somewhere. And I capture back. And I could maybe even capture over here. This is what I'm seeing, that after this, this, and this, and this, I have this, and after rook here, I have takes. But I will be losing a pawn. So this could actually be... Yeah, this could actually be something that I don't really want to do. In fact, I don't think I wanna... I'm not entirely sure that this move is good. And because I am not sure about it, I would rather keep my position safe. So instead, I think I'm gonna go a5, and I'm going to go queen b3 at some point and just play against this pawn. I feel like this is a little bit safer, and I'm not in a rush to go e5. This is not a move that I'm, you know, very stressed about doing. I can try to do this at any point. So knight b5, interesting. The reason I'm saying this is even more interesting is because, let's actually go ahead and see. I have a few options. I could take, and go queen b3, threatening the pawn. The only way of defending is by going b4. And this pawn would be hanging. Then after take here, no, but then this pawn will be too weak, and I don't like that. So actually, to prevent the pawn from being able to go to b4, I'm going to go queen b3 immediately now, as I'm right now threatening to capture this knight. And if my opponent would trade here, then all of a sudden this bishop, which was stopping my move e5, is going to be traded, and it's going to be much easier for me to play e5. And like I said, I'm preparing for this. So I actually really like this move, queen b3. I think that this is a good move. And I'm right now threatening to just simply go takes, takes, and takes. I'm also defending this pawn. And my queen in general is pretty good on the b file. I would say here that I'm slightly better, I feel like, because I feel like my pieces are more active. I have more of a space advantage. And my opponent has this kind of weakness too. So I actually really like my position right now. If knight over here, which is a move that could definitely be played, which I am going to be completely honest, I kind of overlooked, I think. I'm not sure why I overlooked that move. I'm kind of taking back everything I've said. I actually really overlooked this move for some reason. You know, it happens to everyone. Yeah, this move is a really strong move, and I am not sure anymore if I think that I'm better. I completely overlooked this move because for some reason I thought that I could take here, but I don't want to take here and allow my pawns to be doubled, destroying both my king's safety and my pawn structure. So here I'm actually going to retreat because I want to be able to capture with the queen, but this I'm actually not so happy with anymore. I suppose the only good thing about this is that, yeah, I don't really know. There's no good thing about this, actually. Yeah, actually, soon I'm probably gonna have to go e5. Maybe I should have played it earlier when I said that I was in no rush. I might actually be more of a rush than I think. So, because the reason is also that I want to try to get this knight up over here. I think what I might do is I might go bishop here. The idea being that I want to take this knight and then maybe at some point try to get this move in. I might want to do that. And also maybe I want to take this. Maybe I want to go knight a4 and then I want to take and go knight b6. And if knight f6, then I'm going to go bishop h3 and then I'm actually really going to be threatening e5. Maybe even e6 later on. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do this. But I'm really not happy that I let this knight come up over here. This knight is very strong, so I definitely misplayed it before. But you know, chess is a game of like playing good moves, playing bad moves, and then just trying to play better than your opponent at the end of the day. It's not about anything else. Playing perfect chess is hard. The more perfect you play, obviously the higher your rating becomes, but it's very hard. So at least my opponent is taking their time. This is a 10-0 game, so there's no increment. So the moment our clocks hit 0, you know, the time is up. Let's see what my opponent does. They're really thinking about this move. I also wonder if f5 is a good move at any point, but I don't think it is. And I think that if I ever want to play f5, I actually would rather go e5 first, just to open up the square for the knight. But I think this move is just bad because it leaves this square open for the knight. And a knight over here would be a beautiful outpost knight that I definitely do not want to give my opponent. This knight is already strong enough. Like, this knight is dominating my position, which is why it was such a big mistake to let the knight come up over here. h5, okay. So I am now getting the opportunity of capturing this. And I think actually that is an opportunity that I do not want to let go of. So I'm going to go now knight a4, and I'm going to try to get this knight up to b6. And then after this, I'm actually even going to go bishop c3. And I'm going to be preparing this move. I'm going to try at some point at least to go for this move. But I'm actually really happy that I got to capture this knight, because I felt like my bishop was pretty weak anyways. And this knight is going to become a pretty good outpost here too. Even though it's not, you know, a central knight like this one, the knight is still going to be very difficult to eliminate from here. So we're immediately going knight b6. I'm going to be threatening this. Rook here, and now the move that makes all the sense in the world, I think, is bishop c3, defending this pawn and just putting the bishop on the strong diagonal. The bishop was doing nothing here. Now, actually, I may have moments where f5 is a strong move because of the fact that if it captures, this pawn will be gone. So I'm starting to get happier and happier, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. because now there is no knight that can, you know, jump up over here to e5. So this is making me very happy. I feel like my opponent is going a little bit wrong here. I'm not really sure what this move is doing. So I definitely have moments of f5 now. I should probably go rook a3 first though, just to threaten this knight. If captures, I can take here as an intermediate move. Maybe? Can I? Let's see. Let's calculate. In moments like this, when there's, you know, tactics, aka, I mean, we see a position where I'm threatening something, is capturing something else. This is a moment where we need to really take a moment to calculate. So let's go ahead and see. I'm a piece down right now. If I capture here, I'm threatening the queen. Rook takes knight, equal material, threatening the queen. If my opponent moves the queen, I'll capture here, I'll be a piece up. However, there's this intermediate move, check. After check, if I takes, and takes, I end up being an exchange down. So actually that's not something I want to do. So let's say if I capture here, then the only move my opponent has really to defend this knight is to go c4. The knight would lose its outpost position. And I actually think the knight... Would it be... I mean, actually, after this, I can actually simply just capture it if I want to and just be a... Would I be a pawn up? No, I wouldn't really be a pawn up. What is true though is that I don't really think I wanna... Well, this queen is almost trapped. I'm gonna take a moment here. Rook takes knight, bishop check, king here. The queen is very much almost trapped. It's a very... I mean, the only move we can do is this. And the least amount of moves that are available, the more it tells me that, you know, there is something, something going on here. So knight here, really one of the few moves is this. The queen is very much almost trapped. In a way, my intuition is almost saying that this is the move I should go for. No, I'm gonna take here. I spent way too long here, actually. Spent kind of way too long. But what I realized is that after this move, this pawn is gonna become very weak. And instead of doing anything else... there is this move. There is this move, which I kind of missed. But I'm going to go queen b1, because what I'm realizing is that there's very few squares for this knight. So maybe this is the only move. Then I have rook. Then I have rook here. And if takes and takes, I am actually simply winning this knight. It's trapped. The knight has a very small amount of squares it can go to. If the queen now moves, I'll be taking here. I'm threatening to take, and take. So I spent quite a long time because I was really trying to analyze the differences between capturing the bishop and capturing this knight. I knew that there was a moment where I had to think. Maybe I thought for a little bit too long though. But I knew this was a moment where I had to think. And actually, I'll show a line that I had in my head. my brain just went brrr, it just started thinking and calculating a lot, which is one of the skills that you need to practice as well. But I think calculating is one of the easier skills to practice in terms of it's very easy to know how to practice it. Like basically just trying to see moves ahead in your head is the best way to practice it and taking it one step at a time. But I was probably seeing like 6-7 moves ahead in my brain. But I'll show you what I was thinking about. So now, yeah, rook here is the move that I was considering. Rook b3, threatening the queen. If this move, I'll be able to take, and take. I'll win a piece. And I actually believe here that I'm winning a piece anyways because I'm threatening the queen. The queen has to move somewhere. And the only place I can see the queen moving to is to a5. But after queen a5, the knight is hanging. And not only is this knight hanging, after the queen retreats, this pawn is going to be hanging. So we can see here just how important it is to have active pieces. This knight just went to a place that was very, that was just not good. Typically, knights on the rim are not strong. So my opponent actually chooses to sacrifice the queen because they know that they will be losing a piece otherwise. I'm simply going to be capturing now these pawns. Could move, could do this. Going to have to, let's see, just gotta make sure I don't lose on time. So I'm going to go, okay, I'm actually just gonna do this. I gotta play fast. The more that I exchange, the better it's probably going to be for me, and the simpler it's going to be to play it. I'm kind of considering doing a different move, but okay, here I'm just going to go there because knife takes, the knight is hanging. So this move just made it, there were pins everywhere here. After rook takes, I can simply capture there. And now finally, my opponent resigns. And I'm actually really happy with this game. I think that it went pretty well. It says that I had 1 mistake, 0 blunders, 0 misses. So ended up getting 8 points of rating. So I'm actually really happy. The one thing that I'm going to show you, we're going to do a game review as well because I want to see what the engine thinks was my accuracy. What I was calculating here was I was calculating going for this move, rook takes, because I thought that bishop check, king h1, queen here. I thought that after something like queen d3 that this queen would have, oh, my rook is hanging. You see in my brain, I didn't see that. But yeah, I was just seeing that this queen had very few squares to go to. So I was trying to calculate if I can somehow trap the queen. But I quickly realized that in general, this knight is a lot more kind of clumsy than what this bishop is. This bishop has a long diagonal to go to, and it's also one of the most important defensive pieces of this king. So in general, I would much rather capture this bishop than this knight. So that's why I ended up capturing here. And I really thought that c4 was the only move that my opponent could do. And then my plan was to simply go maybe something like rook a4, rook here, or I was even calculating what happens if I go f5, or what happens if I go something like queen e2. But actually, this would have been a big mistake due to queen c5 check, losing my rook. So I had to play rook a4. But yeah, c4 was the better move. But here's where my opponent, I think, blundered by going knight takes a5. But I definitely here before, I think I definitely did a few mistakes here. Like a5 was probably not a good move. I didn't see that knight b5 was so strong. So maybe what I should have done is just queen c2, rook d1, and gone for this. And I don't know if I could have gone e5 earlier, but I kind of don't like going e5 without bringing all my pieces into the play before. So let's go and do a little bit of a, wow, okay. So I'm doing right now a game review, and the chess.com engine thinks, I'm gonna make my camera a bit smaller for this, but it thinks that I played with an accuracy of 90, which I think is pretty great, 90% accuracy. So I'm really happy about that. And it's giving me it's giving me a rating of 2550. Like, I played as a 2550 kind of thing. So I'm actually really happy. I think that this turned out to be a good game. So yeah, I definitely think that the opening was kind of not amazing. I think I did some mistakes, like queen b3. I mean, this f4 line, it's maybe slightly dubious because you do weaken your king a bit, but I do think that the ideas are pretty easy to remember. But I hope that you learned something here. I hope that this is instructive for you. I hope that you learned a thing or two, and at least I, hope that you can bring something to your own games from this little tutorial. Thank you so much, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this video. And once again, the link will be in the description box down below. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in my next video. Keep playing chess and keep winning at chess.